Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, a loud moment of silence. I'm bringing you this program today based on some people who I'm not all that um, happy about. I hope you like my t shirt. It's my I Love the Whistleblower t shirt. On the back, it says, I support the whistleblower. And it's basically, I support and love anybody who stands up and speaks to power and stands up for what is right. And since the issue of the whistleblower is headline news, um, I decided to show my support by my Zazzle creation here. And so if you go to Zazzle and you type in the whistleblower, this might pop up. Anyway, my program has to do with, you could say, the scriptures in Ecclesiastes. It talks about a time for this and a time for that, a time for this, time for that. There's a time to be silent and there's a time to speak up. And this past week, there were many people in different situations who were scared to speak up. And I definitely am not speaking in support of that being the moment of silence. Uh, it's embarrassing. It really is. What we're going through in our country, where the President of the United States is doing some really shady business, and all the Republicans are scared to come out and speak up against his shadiness. Oh, they really are running and hiding and dodging. And even when you do catch one and ask them the question of the day, do you think it's proper that a president uh, use another country to dig up dirt on his opponent or for political purposes to help his own campaign? They refuse to answer the question outright. They go they go on and on. And so uh, then we have another issue. Last week, I had a program that I titled 54321. And what it was is my countdown to my ending my watching of NBA basketball. On the same day that I take the program, uh, a general manager for the Houston Rockets sent out a tweet. His tweet was in support of the people of Hong Kong who were in an issue with China over something about had to do with extradition. If the people of Hong Kong were caught up in a crime, it was that they would be extradited to China for prosecution. Well, the people of Hong Kong, who have for many, many years enjoyed their own freedoms, and they just said, oh, we can't deal with that since Hong Kong is a part of China and stuff like that. They did have some level of uh, control, but China was trying to take that away from them, and Hong Kong, they rose up. So when this general manager of the Houston Rockets made his statement, the Houston Rockets were in China playing a preseason basketball game. And so in doing his little tweet that caused stir, he immediately took the tweet down and said, well, he doesn't want to, interfere with the business of another country. Well, I thought it was rather hypocritical, knowing how the NBA has really stood out in its allowing its players to be free to make their social statements without reprisal. But the NBA commissioner came out and he did a dance. And in this dance, he said that we are not going to back down, but there's billions of dollars at stake. China is a huge market for the NBA. China canceled some games, canceled some televised preseason games over there, and the whole thing's in jeopardy. Well, coming back here, even the coach for the Golden State Warriors danced around the issue. Well, I don't know too much about it. And this man is more in tune with the social issues than I am. And so for him to be taking that position, I found it rather hypocritical in a way. And so the issue was he was not willing to speak up. This man, this coach, has no problem speaking up for issues here in America. And I can understand you don't want to get into other people's business. As I said last week, the greatest peace of mind you'll ever enjoy is when you mind your own business. But when you have to speak up for something that is not right, or speaking up for in support of human rights and freedom of speech, well, all I got to say is the NBA did not have to get in the bed with China when they knew that China has a long history of violating people's human rights. And so for them to now clam up because they were caught up in the middle of something, I just think that that's not proper. And then you look at the fact that the NBA had no problem criticizing the state of North Carolina over transgender issues. They had no problem disciplining an 80-year-old white racist, kicked him out of the league. So I have decided that when it comes to the issue of speaking up, unless China becomes an 80-year-old white transgender, the NBA is not going to speak up for what they truly claim to be about. And so when I look at the issue of speaking up, and I realize there's a scripture that says there's a time to be silent and a time to speak up, it brings me up to some more of the whistleblower issue, but it takes a twist. Something really strange has happened. Last Sunday, the President of the United States, when he is embroiled in this whistleblower controversy, he decided to announce, without even talking to his generals, that he is taking a back seat, or he's stopping or moving troops out of a certain area in the world where Turkey is the result. Turkey is going into Syria, and they're going to take some land. And so people understand this is not right. There's this terrorist group called ISIS. The United States, with the people of the Kurds in that area, that region of the, I guess they were over near Iraq and stuff like that, they helped the United States wipe out ISIS. 10,000 ISIS members were terrorist groups were in a prison where the Kurds were basically holding them as prisoners. Well, the actions by the president says no. He talked to the president of Turkey and decided to pull out. And so within 24 hours, the army of Turkey moved on in. What are the results? I'm sad to report. Here is the result. This is one of the kids killed when Turkey decided to do its bombing and take over some land. Last week, this kid was alive. This picture shows that he is the result. Now, I am assuming that the parents of this Kurdish child was helping the United States in its fight against ISIS. And how do we, the United States, repay the people, the fighters, and the Kurds in that part of the region? We pull back and we allow another country to come in and slaughter them. This is one of the kids that was killed. And so, I'm saying a loud moment of silence for the Kurdish people who helped America. And we have now America turning its back on these people. This is not right. And I say we all need a moment of silence, and a loud moment of silence, in respect for not only this Kurdish kid, doesn't look more than 3 or 4 years old, but this kid lost his life because the President of the United States does not know what he is doing in dealing with foreign issues and claiming that he knows what he's doing, and there's a whole bunch of people supporting him. And I say the blood of all Trump supporters the blood of this kid is on their hands. And so I'm ending this program early, and I'm staying on the subject, staying on the screen, is this image of what the United States is doing to other countries. It hurts my heart to know that this nation is supporting, well, half of it, supporting a president that is so into himself that he does not have the foresight to know that war and even legitimate wars have consequences. His excuses for this particular pullout in Syria were just as ridiculous as any I've heard. I must say that it's troubling to know that this president said the Kurds, meaning this child's forefather, did not help us in Normandy. What kind of mess is that? And what kind of a reason is that to turn your back on the people who helped you today? These Kurdish people helped us today. And the best excuse he can give is that they didn't help us way back when, 50 years ago or whatever it was. It's sad, it really is. And though my loud moment of silence for this young boy is just the tip of the iceberg of the many images similar and worse to than this we will have to see. And the embarrassment, because when you really look at it, who's going to trust the United States after this stunt by our president? Now, I'm embarrassed to call myself an American when my president is doing some shenanigans that helps his own self, not all people. Now, the twist in this story is in Turkey, President Donald Trump has some real estate. They're called the Trump Towers. And there's other property. And I think that he did a favor to the president of Turkey in supporting this pullout of American troops with obvious consequences, to where now the Republicans who have been so silent on his other shenanigans are speaking up. Don't speak up now. Because speaking up now, you just show you're no better than the president. Because you knew he was not right. And if you had spoke up before, he wouldn't have been so bold as to do this recent bit of shenanigans. He wouldn't have dared if you had threatened him. But now people are saying he went too far. He went too far with the Ukraine thing. He went too far with the Russian thing. But now that a kid has been killed, y'all want to speak up just before this kid was killed. Give me a break.